The sun hung low on the horizon, casting a warm glow over the desolate landscape as the weary adventuring party rested upon the slain corpse of a fearsome Dracolic. The battle had been long and arduous, leaving the party battered and in desperate need of respite. They knew they couldn't afford to waste any time, as danger lurked around every corner, but their bodies screamed for rest. Jack, the wise and aged Turtle Cleric, called upon her healing magic to mend the wounds of her comrades. With a deep breath, she focused his energy and attempted to channel the divine power. To her dismay, her spells failed, leaving her perplexed and troubled. Jack's wrinkled brow furrowed as she pondered what could have gone wrong. Perhaps the dark aura of the Dracolic's presence had tainted the very essence of magic in this place. Meanwhile, Scarelius, the ingenious artificer, set his tools upon the ground near the remains of his loyal mechanical dog. The metal construct had suffered considerable damage during the battle, and Scarelius was determined to restore it to its former glory. With unwavering dedication, he tirelessly worked on repairing the intricate mechanisms, refusing to leave until his companion was functional once again. Sparks flew, and the faint sound of gears turning filled the air as Scarelius meticulously pieced the dog back together. Aware of the urgency of their mission, Darius, the swift and resourceful fighter, made a quick decision. He suggested to Jack that they should return to the nearby ransacked town to recover horses for faster travel. The party needed to catch up to the residents who had left to seek shelter in their fort, for rumors had reached their ears that an army was hot on their trail. Agreeing to Darius' plan, Jack and he set off towards the town, leaving Scarelius and the others behind with his dog. The town, once bustling with life, now lay in ruins, a haunting reminder of the ravages of war. As they cautiously moved through the streets, keeping to the shadows, a village member emerged from hiding, his face etched with fear and desperation. The villager, his voice trembling, relayed the dire news to Jack and Darius. An army had indeed marched out from the town, intent on pursuing the residents who had sought refuge in their fortified stronghold. The forces were formidable, their numbers seemingly endless. The village member implored the adventurers to hurry and join their companions at the fort, for time was running out. With a renewed sense of urgency, Jack and Darius swiftly mounted the recovered horses and galloped back to their comrades, the wind whipping through their hair as they raced against time. The setting sun painted the sky with shades of red and orange, casting a fiery backdrop to their desperate journey. With time of the essence, Darius and Jack agreed to ride ahead as fast as they could, leaving their comrades behind. They believed their swiftness would aid them in reaching the fort swiftly. Little did they know, their decision would set off a chain of events that would test the bonds of friendship. Scarelius, Ren, Agrax, and Rango, the remaining members of their adventuring party, approached the outskirts of Everlund. Wearied from their fight, they were relieved to find 2 horses tethered near a dilapidated stable. Hope flickered in their hearts as they realized this could help them catch up to their companions. However, tension simmered within the group. Rango, their self-proclaimed leader, had become increasingly domineering and distant as their quest progressed. The others had grown weary of his commands and yearned for a more democratic approach. In this moment, an opportunity presented itself. Scarelius suggested they take the horses and ride on, leaving Rango behind. The others, swayed by Scarelius' persuasive words, agreed. The mutiny against Rango's leadership had begun. With a heavy heart, Scarelius, Ren, Agrax mounted the horses and set off towards the fort. They traveled for a full day, pushing through fatigue and uncertainty, until they found a suitable place to make camp. Despite their conflicting emotions, they knew they had to press forward and hope Rango would understand their motivations. Meanwhile, Rango had been running tirelessly for hours in an attempt to catch up to his companions. A mix of confusion and anger consumed him as he wondered why they had left him behind. Determined to reunite with his friends, he pushed his exhausted body to the limits. He made it to their camp at midnight and cast invisibility, creeping forward to try steal a horse and make off. Scarelius became aware of his dastardly deed and began searching, then set the hound to guard the horses. Eventually they found the lizard curled up asleep and told him to not take the horses. In the morning they left, leaving him to continue on foot. During his watch, Darius noticed a creature deep in the forest staring at them with unwavering red eyes. When he awoke Jack to check it out, they found the eyes had disappeared. They spent the rest of the night uneasy, but they did not reappear. Darius and Jack continued on towards the fort. As they got closer, Jack transformed into a Quetzalcoatlus and flew them in. As they approached, several terrified guards fired upon them. They leaned inside the courtyard roughly. As they entered, a sense of urgency filled the air. The fort was abuzz with activity, soldiers scrambling to prepare for an imminent attack. Darius and Jack wasted no time, quickly making their presence known to the fort's commander. With that, Darius and Jack set to work. As the fort's new defenders, they were given the task of overseeing the defense strategy. Darius, a natural leader, quickly took charge, organizing the troops and ensuring they were positioned strategically throughout the fort. Meanwhile, Jack's unique abilities came into play. The young sorcerer possessed a rare talent for magic and began molding earth to shore up their defenses. Towards the late afternoon, the others arrived upon horseback and joined them, beginning to assist setting up and preparing themselves for the battle ahead. Eventually Rango arrived, warning everyone of the impending army. It appeared they were going to be besieged shortly, and he implored them to prepare. Rango was convinced that with the right words and a little help from his friend Jack, he could inspire the villagers to stand tall against the oncoming threat. As the sun began to set on the eve of the siege, Rango and Jack stood before the anxious villagers gathered in the village square. Rango, his emerald scales shimmering in the fading light, cleared his throat and began his speech. He spoke of courage, unity, and the indomitable spirit that resided within each and every one of them. His words were imbued with passion and conviction, invoking tales of legendary heroes and their triumphs against all odds. Jack, standing beside Rango, added her own words of encouragement, skillfully weaving tales of daring escapades and heroic deeds, urging the villagers to tap into their inner strength. Together, their voices intertwined, their words creating a tapestry of hope and determination. However, as Rango continued his speech, a palpable unease settled over the crowd. His reptilian visage, usually inspiring respect and admiration, now seemed foreign and unsettling to the predominantly human villagers. Some whispered among themselves, casting uncertain glances at each other. Rango's attempts to rally their spirits unintentionally reminded them of the impending battle and dangers, reinforcing their fears rather than dispelling them. Jack sensed the growing unease and tried to interject, attempting to steer the conversation towards their shared humanity, the common goal of protecting their homes and loved ones. But the damage had been done, and the villagers' morale had taken a severe blow. The once hopeful atmosphere turned sour, and murmurs of doubt filled the square. Some began to retreat to their homes, their hope shattered. Others openly expressed their skepticism, questioning the trust they had placed in Rango and Jack. It seemed that their speech, meant to bolster the villagers' spirits, had backfired catastrophically. Seeing the disheartened faces of the villagers, Rango and Jack exchanged a somber glance. They had failed in their mission to uplift and inspire. The weight of their failure weighed heavily upon them.